Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Notary Disrupt podcast, the show tailor-made for notaries and the notary community. My name is Ryan Serrato.
And my name is Irene Rueda.
And our mission here with the podcast is actually to disrupt the limiting beliefs that you guys may have when growing and scaling your notary business. And some episodes will be listener Q&As, so us answering questions from you guys. Others will be roundtable conversations between me and my mom. And yeah, the last form would be through real estate professional interviews. So we'll just be interviewing a lot of our friends, basically.
In the last episode, we heard about my story and what it took for me to become a successful signing agent. And in this episode, we're going to be talking about my son, Ryan Serrato, and how he became a loan signing agent at the age of 18, and how he was the youngest loan signing system student to be interviewed by Mark Wills at the age of 19. So tune in for episode 2 of Notary Disrupt.
Before we get into my story, I actually want to mention some pretty big news. We have our first sponsor of the show. Pretty cool. Yeah, it's actually our friends at the Loan Signing System. They wanted to sponsor today's episode, and so we have a word from them. But before we get into that, we do have a big announcement, and I do want to save that for the end of the episode, so please stay tuned for that. But yeah, Mom, please take it away.
So if you've been thinking about becoming a notary, the Loan Signing System is the course that taught me everything that I know about being a loan signing agent, and it taught me how to become a successful signing agent. Not only that, but it also gives you a community of loan signing agents all throughout the U.S., and they have been amazing in helping me in my career. So if you do want to become a notary, you need to take a course. I always suggest the Loan Signing System. And I've taken other courses out there. Loan Signing System is best by far. Okay, so when you graduated from high school, one of the things that really surprised me was when you asked to sit down with me and Ray, my husband. And I had no idea what you were going to ask us. And one of the things that you said was, Mom, I want to go into the family business. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, what family business? Like, okay, I didn't realize that, this could be a family business. And I was just in shock. I was like, oh, okay. I thought you were going to go into, college and become engineer of some type. And so I was just really surprised when you were like, I want to become a notary.
Yeah.
So can you talk about that?
Yeah. I mean, during robotics and all that, COVID had hit during my second year of high school, which is kind of crazy. And I had a lot of time to just sit and think. I think a lot of people did, just to self-reflect. And during that time, there was the option to either go to college or go to work. And for a lot of the kids graduating with me, there was college as an option was virtual. It was a pure virtual experience. So, and in my eyes, I think college is worth the experience for in-person networking and, education. You could get you get that education anywhere, but it's about the groups that you join and the teams and everything that they provide is an in-person experience. And at the time, if I had gone that route, I would have been in my room for a couple hours a day, paying a lot of money to attend just Zoom calls, basically. So in my eyes, I reflected on the marketing that I had done in robotics. I thought I was going to be an engineer as well. At ASU, I'd actually got offered a lot of money, $88,000 that I had turned down, just because it wasn't my fit. I didn't think it was a fit for me. I liked leading and working with people, and just doing a lot of marketing. That was my jam. Still is my jam. I do it, I do it for this. But yeah, so right after high school, decided not to do the college route. And I just, in my eyes, there was a huge industry just flourishing at the time, especially with the refi boom in our guest room, which was your guys' office. You guys were just killing it, working day in, day out. And yeah, I didn't want to miss out on that opportunity. It's so unique to my experience as a fresh graduate. I didn't why wouldn't I do that? Especially during the refi boom, there's work being handed out to everybody. I was like, I need to get my hands on it. And I asked you after I graduated, but I had done the studying during sophomore year while everyone was locked up. I did a lot of the notarial law study during that time. I was just read, because at your meetups you would hand out the books and the guides. I just read through them, and so I was trying to prepare myself for right after graduation, but I couldn't. There's so much to learn. And a lot of people want to get started. It's difficult to get started. It's very difficult to get the grasp of everything. And at the time, a lot of notaries didn't have to deal with being great notaries when they started. They just could get their commission and then start. I understood that at the time, especially. I didn't want to be one of those notaries, so I took the time, and I was nervous because I'm 18 at the time. I didn't want to be a lousy notary trying to just get work all the time. Like then, something happens and they're like, oh, that 18-year-old that did my signing actually lied or whatever. I was terrified of that. So I wanted to avoid it at all cost. So I tried becoming the best notary I could. Didn't. And so, yeah, I had to tell you after I graduated that I wanted to be a part of it because I wasn't ready at the time. So I wanted to get more time. Yeah, but the plan was to start right after high school. Nah, it didn't happen. Didn't happen.
So, as a signing service owner, one of the things that I get a lot of is people wanting me to mentor them. I don't mentor anybody. I'm more than happy to answer people's questions when they call me or whatever, but I'm not going to be a mentor to anybody. And unfortunately, that includes my my son. I'm trying to build a business and I just don't have the time for the mentorship.
Yeah, especially at that time with the boom of refinances.
Yeah.
I was not gonna ask you. That was a huge also misconception that may happen with, the way people see how I was trained or how I joined, was that you taught me everything I know. You sat with me, went through seller documents, went through refinance documents, purchases, taught me everything. Nah, there was none of that at all. The main thing was me taking it in my hands, and then because I saw you guys really busy at the time. I was like, there's no time for us to even do a mock signing, let alone like you train me word for word on how to recite documents. None of that. So, yeah, I mean, I like to tell the story. I know you do too, of when I got started, how you treated that. I was like, Mom, you know what? She told me what I needed to do, like what I needed to get finished to be a notary, but she was like, yeah, just do all the reading, you'll be fine. Read through these docs or go somehow, just go figure it out. And I'm like, oh God, okay. So I looked everything up, found out how much it cost to be a part of Mark Wills's loan signing system course, and I was not about to ask my mom for $500 to do that, and so I was struggling. I was thinking, oh, I could ask my brother. He could do me a big favor. My dad, I could probably ask 200 there, 300 here. I kind of landed on getting a job. Basically, I kind of just landed on getting a job right after high school to fund myself. I got a job at Best Buy. To fund myself.
And one of the things that I always tell anybody that comes to me is, if you want to learn how to do this, take a course. I say that all over my TikTok. I'm constantly saying that. And I just want my audience to know, our audience to know, is that, you know what? I even told Ryan that, you need to take the course of the loan signing system, and that's how you're going to learn. I'm not there to hold your hand. The course will teach you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, and in doing that is probably the best way to train someone that's new, or the best advice to give to someone that's new is to not find a babysitter. What are you going to do when you're at a signing and that babysitter is asleep, or that babysitter is working, or
not answering their phone?
What are you going to do? You're going to struggle. That signing is just going to plummet. That borrower is going to ask questions, and if you need someone else to answer those questions for you, you're done. So at the time, I understood that completely because it just made sense in my head. I was like, okay, my mom's not going to teach me, obviously. She thought if I wanted to do it, especially being as young as I am, I should learn it for myself in full. And yeah, and if I wasn't serious about it, it would show. by me sticking at Best Buy and just keep, if I kept working there and I felt comfortable, cool. He didn't want to be a notary after all. He just thought it was a good opportunity and an easy one. But now, once I got my job at Best Buy, I was laser focused on getting in and getting out, like laser focused. And I was only there for 2 months. I was there, and this is actually something kind of cool. When I submitted my resume, I didn't. I just wanted to get the job so I could work as quickly as I could and get 500 and bounce. When I submitted my resume, I went to go to the store, to the Best Buy location on Thunderbird, and I asked, "Hey, have you guys received my resume?" And the guy's like, "I'm working security, buddy. You have to ask, the other guys. You have to ask those people." And he pointed at a group of people that I should ask. And so I go over there, and I'm like, "Hey guys, security told me to talk to you about a resume I submitted." One of the guys turned and he was like, "Oh yeah, you submitted one? Cool. Like, what's your name? I'll look out for it." Turns out that was the GM and the GM of the location. And during my interview, which was scheduled immediately after that, after I told him what my name was, during that interview, he recommended that he would be there instead of the assistant or whoever was right below him. He recommended that he would be at that interview specifically. And at the interview, he was like, "Hey man, I don't usually do this, by the way, but I wanted to be here in person because you are the only person in the last 5 some years that has came in and asked how your resume is going and how it's looking at where it is in the process. I thought that was special, so I want to perform this interview." And I'm like, "Oh God, oh God, I'm gonna leave in like 2 months, man. I'm so sorry." But and this is a huge thing that my mom tells me all the time is to never burn any bridges when it comes to employment, because you never ever know. You never know when you need to go back. If you do need to go back to something and to a job that you've had, don't want to leave on bad terms. And something my mom always says is she could go back to any job she's ever had and she's in good hands because she's left on that good note. So when it did come time to me quitting, I knew that was going to come. I told him in the interview, "Hey man, I'm here to fund something I want to do, which is become a notary. Need to buy this course. It's kind of pricey. I need to submit my loan, not loan applicant. I need to submit my application to the Secretary of State. It's a little bit of money, and I need to get a bag. I need to get paid, a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not going to be here for too long. I don't. That's not the plan." And he was like, "Dude, as long as you're here, yeah, we'll get you going." But yeah, once I quit, yeah, I told him, I was like, "Hey man, it's about time. Like I'm about done." And it was literally 2 months, like a month and like 3 weeks some ish. And he was like, "All right, perfect. We could get you on a plan. Are you sure you want to leave right now? We could definitely get you on, only working weekends or working one day out of the week or a couple hours throughout the week." And I was like, nah, because if I have that security, I don't think I'll be as fully invested as I think I, could be. And he was
Yeah.
like, "I respect it." And yeah, and then he wrote everything up, and I was good. I was good to
And you
go.
left on good terms.
I left on great terms. And I actually go there to buy stuff, just in general.
Yeah.
And if I see him, he's like, "Hey, what's up, Ryan?" Just gives me he's a cool man. So
I love the way you brought up leaving on good terms because that's always been my motto is I've never ever left a place of employment on bad terms. I've always left on good terms. And for you to say that, like, I'm glad that that's like in your head that you have to leave in good terms because in any business and including the notary world, everybody knows everybody.
yeah,
And if you stop working with a title company for whatever reason, you never want to leave in bad terms because you never know where those escrow officers are going to go. And they can be going to a title company that you're already at. And if you leave, like if for whatever reason you leave on bad terms, it's going to follow you, especially in this business. So it's really, really good for you to have that in your head that, always have those great relationships with everyone. Never, ever leave anything on bad terms because you just never know.
yeah, yeah, and yeah, and I thought it would be important, especially with at the time that I started. I knew it was a boom because especially at the time they were referencing the refi boom as a boom as a
Yeah.
spike in work, and I was like, with any spike it'll level out, and I know at the time I get in it'll be hot, and I have this confidence telling my GM that I'm good, I don't need no extra hours, or I don't need an extra plan or anything. But I knew that it could slow down eventually.
Yeah.
And, so I didn't want to leave them. No, I didn't, I'm not going to storm out and quit at Best Buy. Like,
Yeah.
that's so stupid. Like, I wouldn't do that.
So, one of my concerns, and I've told you this, Ryan, when you started as a brand new notary at the age of 18, was your age.
Yeah.
Like, I worried about that big time,
Hmm.
and you have a baby face.
Yeah, I
Like,
just shaved too. Oh my God. I
you
look,
look you look like a little kid.
yeah.
And so that was my concern, especially going into like $1 million homes. Like,
Yes.
are these people going to take my son seriously? And as a mother, that's what I worried about.
Hmm.
Like, oh my God, what are people gonna say? Am I gonna get, bad reviews about him because, I sent a little kid to a
Yeah.
signing?
Yeah.
Can you talk about that? Because you know what? It you totally changed my mind because like I would have friends that would ask me, "Hey, my son wants to become a loan signing agent."
Yeah.
And I would always bring up their age. Oh, they're only 18, they're only 19. Like I wouldn't hire them. But after you, yes, I would hire them now.
As long
So
as they're trained. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. So, um, that was a huge stigma. That's a key
Yes.
word. That was a huge stigma that I had created against myself, but also that I knew other people had against young workers in real estate. And I was very well aware of that. And so, and even right now, I just shaved. I look, and I'm 20 now. I mean, we're talking about when I was 18. I look like a baby. My face got more square throughout the years. But especially at the time, I was I was very worried, especially when I was studying, and every video that I could find of visuals of notaries or people in real estate or conferences, whatever, they're all either, in my eyes, I thought all of them were like 35 and above, 40 and above. Um, and yeah, it was terrifying. So what I thought I should do to combat that was just be as good of a notary as I could possibly be. So I took my training very serious. I took a lot of what I was doing um, just as serious as I could, be as professional as I could, be as mature as I could, present myself. And a huge worry that I had was once I get to that door and I knock and I'm like all prepped up and I have the docs, they're gonna be like, who, like, are you with title? And then I'm like, oh God, they're gonna call title and want a reschedule and a whole bunch of stuff. And I mean, I kind of want to talk about getting my first signing as a 18-year-old. And you're like, hey Ryan, you want this signing? I'm like, no, I'm not ready. And you're like, well, you'll never feel ready, first of all. But the signing needs to get done, and it's only a couple pages. It's like 6 pages. You should go do it.
6, yeah.
Go do it. And I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'll do it. And I got slacks on. It was a freaking weekend. It was the weekend. I got slacks on. I had my shirt. It was like winter, so I had a cool little blazer on or whatever. And I drive a whole hour. It was like an hour and 20 minutes to my very first signing, 6 pages. I was nervous. I got there 30 minutes early. Like probably 40. I was sitting outside of the house, kind of like parked on the side where no one could see me. I was just sitting there waiting, reviewing the 6 pages I had. And I'm like, oh my God. I was just about to puke. And then it comes time and I get in and I'm like, I knock on the door and I'm sweating. I'm going through it, and the guy answers, and turns out he was like 70-ish years old. And he opens and he has the biggest smile for me. And he says, honey, the guy from title is here to help us. And I'm like, you know what? I think I should change my mind about how I present myself in moments like these. And so what I started to do after that, well, by the way, we could talk about after that, but like that signing took a whole hour. That signing took well over an hour. That dude couldn't find his banking information. We needed some trust certification filled out. That was a majority of the 6 pages, by the way. And he was like, oh, I got this huge trust booklet. And he had this stack of just papers filled with trust information. I'm like, we just need to know if it's revocable or irrevocable. He's like, well, let's find out. I'm like, okay. And then we went through the whole thing. But anyway, it took well over an hour, 6 pages. It was so fun. But after that day, I kind of started thinking about borrowers as someone that needs our assistance as notaries and our expertise, our knowledge, as opposed to just being someone that is trying to not come off as scared or have all this stigma in us and all this worry, are they going to think about us this way or this way? No, that's not what you should have in mind. You should
Exactly.
have that you're there to do something that they need you to do to close on their dream home or to refinance to get a lower rate, whatever.
Yep.
It's not about you, I would say.
Yep. I want to bring up a story. So, one of the things that I always tell anybody that wants to become a notary is the first thing is know your notary laws. So, here in Arizona, you need to know what your Arizona notary laws are. Whatever state that you're in, know what your laws are. And one of the stories is you had gone to title one time to drop off documents, and the branch manager mentioned to you something about
It was a Mexican passport.
oh, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And shoot, yeah, if you want to tell that story, I think that story is so amazing because you know your notary laws and you were able to tell her something that she didn't even know.
Right. Yeah. It was a Mexican passport situation, and she was all like, after the signing, I was like, yeah, I got a credible witness and et cetera, et cetera. And she was like, no, you could actually accept Mexican passports. So why'd you get a credible witness? We don't need this sheet. I'm like, don't throw that away, please. I was like, please don't throw it away. We do need that. Um, I have my copy. I give you yours. Just you do need it. We cannot accept it. Like you're saying, like I cannot perform a notarial act on someone that only has a Mexican passport, is what I was saying, without a credible witness. And she was like, oh, now, you know what? This was when I first started. She was like, okay, well, I'll just ask your mom. I'm like, no, I'm telling you, as a notary, I do need that credible witness there. And she was like, okay. And I'm like, oh my god, okay. Like, you're gonna still call my mom? I was like, are you sure? Like, okay. And yeah. So anyway, you told her the exact same thing.
Yeah, and what's funny
You told
about
her the exact same thing.
what's funny about this escrow officer, the reason she thought that is because whatever state that she was in before, they were able to accept those.
Right.
And here in Arizona, we're not allowed to
Yeah.
without a credible witness. And so she actually learned something new. And she told me afterwards, she's like, so when I told her that, yeah, you know what, we're not allowed to accept them without the credible witnesses. And she was like, wow, I just learned something new. I did not know that. And she's like, I cannot believe Ryan knew that.
Hmm.
And I was like, oh, I make sure that all my notaries know their notary laws. And Ryan knows his notary laws.
Yeah, and it was something where as a new notary, like you're gonna be asked, unfortunately, by a lot of escrow officers and people that you work with to perform illegal acts. And as a new notary, I could confidently tell you, you will probably perform those without a blink of an eye if you are not an educated notary. And a huge thing about being an educated notary is protecting yourself. And as an 18-year-old, what else was I going to do other than protect myself? And I know you store these notary journals for 5 years plus, for 10 years after, especially with Ron nowadays. That video is captured forever. You have to protect yourself, for like, hands down. And so as a new notary, when someone is telling me this that has 25 plus some years of experience, I'm questioning myself. Am I telling this person the right thing? I don't know. But in my head, I know I have that image of the sentence in the notarial handbook for Arizona. That does state what I am reciting, and that's the only way I should communicate to these people. And if I can't remember what that certain thing is, let's pull it up. If it doesn't exist, cool. But yeah, and it's not their job to know our laws. It's
Exactly.
not their job to know, as an escrow officer, as a loan officer, whoever it is, to know what we can and cannot do in the state of Arizona as an officer of the state.
Yeah, and unfortunately, a lot of escrow officers and lenders, a lot of the times they don't know all the notary laws because, they're focused on, what they're focused on.
Yeah, it's not even their job to do that either, you
Yeah.
know?
So one of the things that I get asked a lot from my escrow officers now that they know that, we are notary experts here in
Yeah.
Arizona is that they'll literally call me up and say, "Hey, I just had a notary do this. Is that okay? Like, are they able to do that?" It's like, and I'll tell them yes or no,
Yeah.
whatever the answer is. And, they look at you as the expert.
Yeah, especially when it's something that large, when yeah, it's a that could bite in the butt, in the
Yeah.
rear, especially if, if I wasn't educated, I could have been like, okay. And I have run into notaries, unfortunately, that have had those questionable moments where they're like, no, I thought it was supposed to be this way. The escrow officer or loan officer, whoever they're working with, says, no, you could actually just do this. And then the notary's all like, wow, I didn't know that. And then that's how they work from that point forward. And then, at our meetups, they'll ask like questionable, they'll ask me questions that they don't want to ask you at the meetups. And I'll be like, oh, you cannot do that. Doesn't matter where you heard it from. It doesn't matter. You cannot do that. And yeah, so I mean, educate yourself. I wouldn't say through asking me or asking my mom, but by reading the Arizona's or your state's handbook for notarial law. Do yourself that favor, please.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so glad that you went to conference just because I know the first time that I went to conference that how I came back, motivated. I wanted
Juiced.
to, grow my business even more. And going to conference just does that to you.
Yeah.
Like you just become so energized. Like you just want to do more. You want
Yeah.
to be better. You see these multi-million-dollar companies there, and that's who you want to become. Like that's who I want to become. And I'm so glad that you got to experience that because I can't wait for next year. Like next year is going to be amazing.
Yeah. Next year is going to be
Like
really
it's
fun.
it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first episode, by the way, was so well received, guys. Thank you. Thank you guys so much. I mean,
Yes,
all the
thank you
love,
guys.
all the comments, all the people that want to be on the podcast, which is hilarious. Um, I mean, this is something that we're supposed to drop the episode on the 1st of December. And me and Avery, could you step in frame real quick, my guy? Right here. Right over here. Come here. This is Avery. Greg is over here. Greg is actually tied up behind some cameras, but without Avery, literally, like, me and him stayed up for 3 days before the 1st of December for nights. Like, we got kicked out of the place we were working at to make the episode as perfect as we could. Oh my God, we got a notice about it. It was kind of bad, but we were staying up. We were trying to perfect the audio, trying to perfect the editing. And turns out it wasn't perfect. It was not perfect by any standard, but what I thought was, it doesn't matter. This is like as high of a quality as we could get it to for it to be released on the 1st. And so in my eyes, I thought I did all I could. And without Avery, I mean, it wouldn't have been anything. But we released it, and I was so blown away with all the well-received messages. I mean, and it's funny because we have Greg here with us. A whole bunch of the comments were about how well the video is, how well it turns out, and that wouldn't be without our videographer Greg Olivas. But to hear all the messages, to hear how many people want to be on this episode or like the show, how many people just are saying, "Hey, if you ever need anything, I'm here. I'm at this state. So if you ever come here, you let me know. I'll be on." It's like crazy, and for all the love, I mean, thank you. It was so well received, and uh, thank you, thank you.
And Ryan, you put in so much work into this also. Like you have done so amazing. And I see your passion in this. Like
Yeah,
I feel like that's going to be where you may be heading, away from the notary world, but I think you found your passion, and that is like the marketing, the podcasting, the YouTube,
yeah,
like that's so amazing.
yeah. I mean, we just got um, the Instagram up. We got the YouTube channel. We changed the logo, but it's the second episode. I mean, like even this one's going to be a little rough, but in my eyes, before this, I was like, you know what? The editing's going to be so much better. We know what we need to do, and then we get here and it takes we're all late because of traffic and like the batteries died on the camera. A whole bunch of stuff just randomly happens. I mean, I've hit the mic like 8 times throughout this whole recording. It's not going to be perfect, but for me, I enjoy it so much to be at home scripting. I enjoy it so much to be at home editing the clips. A lot of this stuff I do want to outsource eventually, but to outsource, you need to find your voice and to find your brand basically. And so, thank you guys for being here as we're doing that. And I do want to have just a recap basically of the episode. And one of them is of me dealing with dyslexia as a stigma against myself. So please, for especially new notaries, don't have that stigma of thinking that, oh, since I'm new, the borrower's going to think that I don't know what I'm talking about or whatever. You have that in your head, and that's going to make them ask more questions. The stigmas that you hold against yourself are just only going to do you harm and literally nobody else. So that's one. Get rid of the stigmas. Another one, try to do things that you find joy in. This is what I find joy in. I like organizing. I like communicating with the supporters, with you guys as listeners. I mean, for me, that really came through in marketing and robotics personally. That was huge. Trust in yourself, invest in yourself. Me working at Best Buy, there was no other point in my career where I've invested myself that heavily in, where I was like, let me get a full-time job, work at Best Buy for 2 months only, and then quit just to fund myself to do this. It was pretty difficult, but well worth it. And then
Definitely.
And the last thing is, you don't get what you don't ask for. I wouldn't have got any work from Melanie if I didn't go up to her and ask, hey, are you a signing service owner? Oh, cool. I'm in Phoenix. I'm a notary. If you ever need anything out here in Phoenix, just let me know. I mean, I've done signings at 1 a.m. at an IHOP. It's, it gets crazy, but just let me know. I'll do it. I'll do it, whatever you need. And I said that to 1 million people at conference.
And you've gotten work from that.
Melanie, she's actually sent me work, and I just did one a couple of weeks ago. So shout out. But work does come, but it would have never came if I didn't ask for it. And that's a part of networking. That's a part of trusting yourself. But I guess that's the recap of today's episode. So guys, thank you. Thank you for all the support from episode 1. I'm excited to keep making episodes for you guys. We almost missed the big announcement. Oh my gosh, it's on the last page. That's why.
So our big announcement is that Mark Wills, the CEO of the loan signing system, will be our very first guest interviewee. Yeah. And that episode
mid-January
will be coming out sometime in January.
Yeah.
So be looking out for that. We're super excited to have him on.
Yeah, I mean, he had called. He said, great work with the podcast. When is Ryan going to ask me to be on? And I'm like, where was I during that conversation? What the heck? My mom's telling me. And then turns out she was on a call with him a couple days later. I'm just working literally on the podcast. And she puts him on speaker. I'm like, is that Mark? And she's like, that's Mark. And Mark's like, is Ryan there? I'm like, I'm right here, man. And he was like, dude, great work on the podcast. And I was like, Mark, do you want to be on the podcast? And he was like, of course I want to be on the podcast. And I'm like, okay, I want it to be in person. I want it to be good. So the reason why it's coming out in mid-January or late January is because we're going to be driving out to San Diego and going out there and being a part of Brian Schooley's podcast, recording that episode with Mark. And it's going to be good. I mean, I think that's a big announcement. I think that was worth saving for the end.
Definitely.
Personally. But yeah, everybody, shout out to Mark for sponsoring today's episode at the Loan Signing System. They do have a free Ron course out right now, and that link will definitely be in the subscription. So, or in the description of today's episode, in the show notes also. And then if you guys want to, for me in high school, a lot of people are worried about how difficult the course is, how much they need to study. I did it in high school as a high school student during the pandemic. I mean, it's not that it's difficult, but if you put in the time, Yeah, you'll get it. You'll get through it. And personally, there's like 40 hours of 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 training from Mark on the course.
A
So
lot of great content.
so much great content. So if you guys want that, please use our special discount code that is in the description of the video or in the show notes.
Yes,
But
and also our affiliate link for the complete notary mentorship, which teaches you everything about general notary work, how to be a wedding officiant, how to do apostilles, how to do fingerprinting. Like you can learn everything besides loan signing.
yeah, and I mean, and we're not just saying this because we're so nervous on the first episode. We just I would have said this on the first one if I remembered. This changed the trajectory. Oh my god, I'm not going to say that. And we forgot to say this on the first episode. This course has changed my life personally. I would not be here. I'd be in college. I'd probably still be working at Best Buy, to be honest. Like, if not for this course, I wouldn't be here today talking to you guys. So if you guys want that course, please go to the description, to the show notes, use our affiliate link. Everything is there for you guys. But other than that, thank you guys for listening. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Yeah, thank you. We'll catch you on the next episode.
Thank you guys.